Hello, and welcome to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio's first Friday. This is our second Friday. I can't keep track. Second Friday Vacation Station Food, Wine, and Travel Show with Nancy and Lisa. We're the mother-daughter travel team and publisher of the digital interactive Big Blend Radio and TV magazine, as well as Parks and Travel magazine. You can see them all at bigblendmagazines.com. Now, every second Friday is really cool because we get to interview travel writers who are members of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. So we get to hear the inside scoop of their latest destinations. We get travel tips, all kinds of good stories. And today's segment, we're very excited to welcome world traveler to over 90 countries. Like, hello, world traveler and travel writer Judi Cohen. She's going to be sharing her adventures in India. Now, I know a lot of us have been dreaming of going to India. And so she's going to tell about some of her adventures, but not only just her adventures, but her family and an adult family. She's got children that are in their 30s. And so they go over, now it's become a thing for them. So she's going to share some tips and advice on how to see authentic India. Of course, there's tourist traps in every country, so you're going to want to do those, but some of the off the beaten path adventures she's going to share with us. And I encourage you to check out her website. It's travelingjudi.com, and that's Judi. So travelingjudi.com. And she's got an article up on blendradioandtv.com. You can see her photos and see really get yourself immersed in her adventures there. And it'll also be featured, the article, in our upcoming spring issue of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine. So welcome, Judi. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Lisa.
Hey, Nancy and I are excited about this. India, we've never been there. I've always wanted to go there. What was it that led you to say, okay, out of 90 countries, I'm going there?
Well, the first time that I went there was many years ago, was in the early 2000s. And I was always curious about India, always heard about it, had never been to a country quite like that before. And we embraced it. My husband, myself, and another friend of ours, whose wife refused to go to India. The three of us went on our first trip there.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Hey, well,
you know why?
Yeah, why did she not want to go?
Yeah.
She just refused. She just said, I have no interest. I'm not going. And three of us went off. She has come back with us since then. So she has come to India, and one time for her was just about enough.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Well, I've heard that it's a very overwhelming place to go when you first get there, that it's like, wow, there's so many people, it's so busy, so it could be a completely change of culture.
It is. It's a very overwhelming place. Everything about it is different than we're used to. And India is the type of place that you either go to and embrace and love it, and you come back saying, I loved it, or you did not. Okay, you love it or you hate it. Very few people come back from India and say, well, it was okay. It's not just an okay place. For me, it's very much a full experience. And that's what I like to get. And I love all the off the beaten path opportunities there, the various different cities, the various different regions. I'm not finished with India yet.
It sounds like you've got that love affair. Like they say, like, when we lived in Kenya, once you get the soil of Africa under your fingernails, you're coming back.
Yeah.
And we did. And it's like, it's still, there's something that just, I don't know, it's like a magnet that keeps drawing you back. So it sounds like you've got that happening to you too.
That's
true. India.
That's true. That's true.
Cool. Very cool. Very cool. So, you think about India, the immediate things like Taj Mahal come up and in your mind, and you think about tigers and, but reading your article, you went to some of the places that, yes, people do go to, the main places, but you discovered all these different areas. What's interesting to me is that you were working with, like, we've changed in how we planned travels. At one point, the travel industry, the travel agent industry, almost was completely bypassed, but now it's back on again. And you said that that's one of the things that you really utilized is a travel agent over in India.
That's right. That's right. I think it is, it's next to impossible to go to India, particularly with a larger group, like with 5 of us traveling on this trip, and make the arrangements and be secure in what you're booking.
Mm.
Yeah.
And my view is that it's best to use somebody that is on the ground in India. You can
Mhm.
certainly use a travel agent in North America if you're going from North America. But what they will do is go to one of the travel agents or travel companies on the ground in India anyway. So what I like to do is go directly to the travel company in India, which I did on this trip. Our most recent one, I worked with Shikhar Travel in Delhi. And on our previous one, I worked directly with Pierce and Leslie, which was a higher end company, a more luxury brand company. And both were wonderful.
Yeah, I think you get way more out of a visit when, especially countries like Kenya and India, anywhere in Africa, you really get way more out of your trip if you have a good tour company or a tour
That's
guide
right.
that really knows the country. Because trying to navigate those places on your own, you could spend a whole lot of time seeing really not the sides of the place you wanted to see. You could
That's
end up
right.
in the wrong places at the wrong time.
That's right. And why not avail yourself of the
Exactly.
knowledge that people have on the ground so that you can
Yeah.
have the best possible experience there?
Yeah, I agree.
So I like that when you because of the language. What about that? Going through the language barriers. Is there much of one, or is it still? Because I always think that English is pretty well spoken in places like India.
It is. India,
Mm-hmm.
India is, the language that's used. I mean, there are many, many languages in India, but most people do know English,
Yeah.
except, for instance, when we were doing our Corky cruise along the Brahmaputra River in very remote northeast India, in Assam. The villages there were never used to seeing tourists, and many of those people do not speak any English. So
Wow.
depending on how much of a remote area you go to,
Mm.
generally English is spoken, so it is not a barrier.
Mm.
Okay. Okay, so that's cool to know. And then anything that you should prepare, like I remember when we first went to Africa, Nancy took me to the doctor as a little baby, and next thing you know, like I'm getting every injection under the sun, vaccinations.
Yeah,
And did you
that
have
was
to go through
important.
any of that in regards to being prepared for India?
Well, we because we travel a lot, we have all of the basic shots, like the
Mm.
hepatitis, the hep A's,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
hep B's, and we did not take malaria shots. There was no reason for us to have malaria shots, but the
Mm.
basic ones, tetanus, typhoid, hep
Yeah.
A and B, those were all the shots that we took. Every time we travel, though, we check with a medical travel clinic to see if
Mm.
there's anything new that we need to know about.
Mm. That's a good thing to do. I mean, we look at all these
Yeah.
viruses going around these days, like the corona. I call it the beer virus, coronavirus, and things like that going around. You never know. You do need to be aware before you just hop in a plane and land. So
Well, that's right.
going. I mean, and you've traveled 90 countries. I mean, has this been a lifelong journey of 90 countries, or how did that happen?
It's pretty well been a lifelong journey, but I started traveling. I was vice president of a few international engineering companies, and I traveled the world for large infrastructure projects. So that's where I really got bitten. The
Mm.
travel bug got me. And since then, my husband and I, we've been together since we were 16, and we
Wow,
have been traveling ever since we met. So
wow.
starting out backpacking in Europe and other places, and it's just continued. And I just can't get enough of it.
Yeah, it's too
I
much
would like
fun.
to, yeah, I would really like to. There's a number of places that I would still very much like to go to. And like I say, I would go back to India in a heartbeat. There's so much more to see.
Mm. So for you, what is it when you travel that um, like for us, we're always into national parks. And I know you went to some national parks and safaris and things like that, but that's our thing. What is it for you that you're seeking when you travel?
I love seeing life. I love interacting with people. I like going to remote places. I love small ship cruising in remote destinations. I've done cruising on Panda cruises 3 times in Myanmar along the Irrawaddy River, and visiting the smallest of villages, and going into the schools and understanding the medical clinics that have been set up. I've done it in Cambodia, in Vietnam, in Laos, and in India. And I love the immersive opportunities where they're not staged for you. They're kind of the accidental, here I am, and the authenticity, I guess, is the genuine behaviors of the people and the children in particular. I love interacting with children when I'm traveling.
That's interesting. Yeah, because they're honest.
That's right.
Well,
That's right.
they get so excited to see somebody different.
That's right.
At least that's the experience we had in Kenya, where the kids were just, oh my gosh, they would circle the car and they want to talk, they want to learn from you, and they especially were interested in the clothing that you wore. They just were like, oh, look at this, look at that. And then some of them would want to, they'd grab your hand and want to show you something, and come see this. And it's just fun. It's really interesting.
Yeah. There's something that's very, very, very wonderful about those experiences. And I've noticed that when we've traveled with our children, because they've done a number of these trips with us also, the small ship cruising as well. And they love going into the schools. They could spend an entire day in a schoolroom interacting with the kids.
That's sweet.
That's fun.
And that's to me, that's the thing, is where you actually see real life going on and you immerse yourself in it. So you're part of the village or the community. And I think so many times as travelers, we go do the Instagram worthy places and forget about part of traveling is to connect with different communities and find you find more of an individuality that way, but you also find shared and common things that we all care about. We all care about our children, right? Unless you're a criminal, but so you care about children, and I think that's a good stepping stone of communication, is that that shared, like, we want the best for them, and that then they do bring joy. So that's a really cool thing. And when you talk about traveling with your kids and now they're in their 30s, how do you plan this kind of thing? It's something you talk about in your article. I really love your writing style, because you immerse us in this, and then you're giving us like some really fantastic tips that we can utilize to go and plan your trip, but at the same time bring the color to life of a destination. How do you get it so that everybody's happy? And because, like, you've got this side that you want, and maybe your husband has something else he wants to see. How do you balance it all out between you all?
Well, it all starts with consulting with everybody. I have one son who lives in New York City, and his girlfriend is in New York City, and my daughter lives in Toronto. And quite often we'll get on a Skype call. We'll discuss where we want to go. Like, when we talk about a trip, the best time for us to travel is over Christmas and New Year's, when everybody's got holidays. So it begins with, so where do we want to go? What do you think? And we land on a destination, and then we get down to, so where do you want to go there? And in India, it's such a big country, we needed to talk about it. And so we very carefully discuss what everybody would like to get from the holiday. Are you ready for a beach holiday, or do you want to travel? And 99% of the time, my kids and us say, we don't want to lie on a beach. We want to go see the world. So we're really not beach people, and we're not go and laze around. We like to do things. We like to be scheduled. So then we talk about, how much of this do we want scheduled for us, and how much free time do we want? And are there parts of this trip that some of us want to do and others don't want to do? How does this work with schedule? So what we do is we actually tailor the trip. We talk about it all. I get in touch with somebody on the ground in India and work with them on fine-tuning our itinerary. And then once we do that, we send it back out to everybody and we have a discussion. And hotels are quite often a communal discussion in terms of budget, in terms of style of hotel. We are also drawn to heritage properties, historical properties that give us a feel of what it might have been like to live like a Maharaja or a Maharani, what it was like during British times and the Mughal eras. And so that's another area that I think is very important to agree on and align on as a family. We combine it then with some interesting luxury experiences. And on our last trip, we made some selections. The Ras Hotel, for instance, in Jodhpur is a gorgeous hotel. It is definitely a luxury hotel. And it's one that provides a beautiful oasis. When you come back in after spending a whole day touring or walking, you're ready to come back and enjoy a property. And quite often we'll have dinner in that property also. It's a matter of comfort.
And you talk about having breakfast too. That's a big deal. Your breakfast can tide you over because sometimes you go on an adventure and I mean, we've done that with all of a sudden it's nighttime and we forgot to eat and then you start getting cranky.
Yeah, that's right.
No cranky
so
allowed.
breakfast is really important. It becomes your primary meal of the day. Lunchtime is usually not until 2 or 3 in the afternoon with all of the touring, and you're exhausted. And sometimes, you know, you don't have something that really you fancy. So you do go hungry until the night. And by night, you really want a good meal.
What is breakfast? Sorry, go ahead, Nancy.
I was just going to say, in a lot of countries, the dinners are served far later than what we eat here.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So you have to adjust.
You get hungry real. You're like, no, it's been 8 hours.
Do you take snacks with you when you travel internationally? Do you like unpacking my peanuts in case?
Yes, I always take snacks.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it's become a standing joke in our family that quite often, I mean, you have weight limits when you're traveling on internal flights in India. And I've been overweight and had to pay for additional luggage because of my snacks. So we've had debates about offboarding snacks.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh my gosh, I know. So you've got your shoes in there and you're stuffing peanuts in your shoes and candy bars in there. You know, I know.
That's right.
But you know what? I know. I mean, we always carry wine everywhere we go because you never know. You need wine by the time you know, because traveling, it is a job. As much as it's exciting, it's adventurous. It's hard work if you're really doing an adventure. Work. And if you need wine at the end of the day, by golly, I'm having it. You know?
Exactly.
Because you never know.
And India is not a good country for wine, by the way.
So
typically you drink beer.
Oh, so, that's okay.
Yeah, But I mean, the only other thing that I wanted to kind of add to this is that you've got to be able to stay calm during one of these family trips. Things, no matter how well a trip is planned, no matter how perfect your itinerary is, things are going to go wrong. Planes, the schedules, airline schedules are going to change. Your touring might have to be adjusted. In this particular case, when we were in India in December and January, they had the coldest year they've had in 120 years.
Wow.
We were bundled up. Thankfully, my husband and I went to Nepal first, and we took a lot of winter gear with us, and we were able to share it with our children. But you needed to be bundled up. And for instance, we had a dinner in the Thar Desert all planned for our family. And we got there and it was freezing cold. And my daughter looked up and said, I don't want to do this. I want to go back to the hotel. And everybody agreed. So the best laid plans are going to change, and everybody has to be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
And you got stay calm and and the things that go wrong often bring a story with them that you remember later, and have a sense of humor. At the end of the day, just laugh it off, man. It's like, things, they always go wrong. I don't care where you're traveling. There's always going to have a flat tire can change an entire thing, but can bring out some of the best stories and best adventures, especially if you have that flexibility. I wanted to ask you though, going back to the breakfast, what about the food? Because this is, why I think some folks don't travel as much to places like India or Africa or South America, is the fear of food, when at the same time, one of the biggest experiences could be the food. And sometimes, yes, maybe your system doesn't get used to the spices or the ingredients in another culture, hence the snacks, bring the snacks. But there is a balance of having something completely new for breakfast. What's it like?
Well, I mean, basically breakfast in all of these hotels and in all of the palaces are geared to international tastes.
Okay.
So you could choose to have an Indian breakfast, or you can choose to have a North American breakfast. You can get bacon and eggs just about anywhere, and toast and cereal and yogurt just about anywhere, fruits. So there's never an issue. I have never had an issue. And I will tell you that in 4 trips to India now, I have personally, thank goodness, never gotten ill. And I have got the weakest stomach of my whole family. So I've never been ill. I eat very carefully. I try to eat cooked foods when we're traveling outside of the hotel during the day. Anything that's well cooked, unless it's rancid, is not going to make you sick. So, you try to eat things that are well cooked, and I avoid fresh lettuce. I avoid fresh fruit and vegetables that are not peeled. So you just manage it. Just find a way to manage that, and it worked.
Yeah, see, that's cool. And that's with everywhere too. And I think, again, you be careful about it, but it makes you be aware of what you are eating and more observant, and you start to see different exotic foods that you've never seen before if you're observant like that. Some of the places that you went, now the Rat Temple, I have always wanted to go there, but it's a trip. I mean, and I think that's got to make some people run out. Did people bail and get scared?
Well, we had Emily in our family who refused to go in. I mean, just to start there. We traveled all the way there. We got to the front of the Rat Temple, and she just said, "Enjoy yourselves. I'm not going in." There are people, as you walk through the Rat Temple, you can hear, I made some videos of shrieking, like it was like walking through a haunted house almost. There's a lot of shrieking going on, and there's rats. The rats run right over your feet. They're coming out of the walls with 20,000 rats. That's a massive population of rats in not such a big temple. It was very, very interesting though. And the whole concept behind it, the beliefs that they have, that, when they die, they're reincarnated as a rat. And then when the rat dies, it's going to be reincarnated as a human again. So heaven forbid you should walk through the temple and step on a rat. You slide your feet. You basically slide your feet going through so that you don't accidentally hurt one of the rats.
Oh, wow.
But it's not for the faint of heart. It definitely is not.
Wow. And
they don't bite, do they? I mean, don't they just kind of run around? I know people, the rats used to be known for the ones who carried bubonic plague, and that used to freak everybody out. But, times have changed.
These rats live inside of this temple, and they're fed milk and they're fed sweets. Somebody told me there that they've all got diabetes.
Oh,
from all the
Oh,
sweets that they get fed. But they're not the
wow.
street rats. These rats don't leave the temple. There's big nets all around and
Oh,
all above it so that the birds don't steal the rats.
oh my gosh.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Hmm.
So this is
That's
Hmm.
okay.
well, see, this is part of it. I love these kind of, the different religious and spiritual beliefs. I want to go to India just because of Ayurvedic practice and how ancient the Vedics, just that whole, spiritual, medicinal, being connected to nature, and all of that to me is so fascinating to go out, and that's what I would want to experience, especially with the nature as well. And you got out on the desert on a camel. You went through a national park on a safari, and you got to see elephant. I mean, this is pretty cool what you get to
It was
do.
great. I mean, you mentioned Ayurveda, and
Mm-hmm.
on the riverboat that we were on, it was called the MV Mahabahu, and it is a very Indian ship. It's a
Mm-hmm.
boat, and it's tiny, and there was only 25 people on it. And the woman who was managing the cruise is an Ayurvedic practitioner. So
Oh
I
wow,
went for an Ayurvedic massage
nice.
that
Oh,
was fabulous with all of the hot oil on the
Mm.
teakwood table. And um, it was magic. It was just magic. So if that's something that interests you, going through Assam on this small riverboat is an incredible experience.
Oh
And stopping in the national park in Kaziranga. We were in Kaziranga National Park for a couple of days on the itinerary, and we were able to do several safaris. One of them was in a boat along. We did it in a tender. We went along and we were looking for the tigers. We went right in jeeps and saw the one-horned rhinos, the white rhinos that are
wow,
rare. Uh, and we did that all as the sun was rising and the dew was coming out of the tall grasses. It was just beautiful, just
wow.
beautiful.
What about the birds?
yeah.
Because I always say that India is full of like just
It's
amazing
known
birds.
for, yeah, it's known
Oh,
for such beautiful birds.
well, the birds, I mean, you just don't know which way to look. And uh, so much. There's so much wildlife
Mm,
everywhere you
Hmm.
go. The
mm.
birds are beautiful, the colors and the sizes. They're enormous. The storks are
Oh,
majestic.
oh
Hmm.
man, I want to go.
Oh,
I want to go. I want to go. Now, what
mm-hmm.
you also did, the one thing that I find very fascinating is where the burials that go into the river, and they essentially burn those who have passed on and float them out to the river. And I've watched so many travel documentaries on this, and it's an interesting thing because it's there's a release that happens, with people, and it's just the process to me is fascinating. It's different than what a lot of other cultures do, but then similar in some ways. And so to go to that area and where everyone's mourning and then setting the bodies off, it's an interesting, when you get into that kind of atmosphere, there's a um you're witnessing it, but there's a healthy respect to have, that
There is.
it's not a zoo, and we shouldn't treat animals in zoos like animals in zoos. We shouldn't put them there.
No.
Just put it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
we've got to remember, when we go to a place like this, that people are people. you know.
Well, they have
Yeah.
their viewpoints just like we have ours, and to me, trying to decide who's right or wrong is kind of beside the issue and ruins the experience.
Mm,
You're halfway around the world, and things are bound to be different, and that's why you go.
mm,
So,
Right.
I know there are some customs, especially like in parts of Africa, that can raise some eyebrows, but at the end of the day, that's why you travel, to see what other people are up to.
mm,
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things that I tell people about India. When you go there, you just have to go there and watch and observe. You're going as an observer. You're going there to see how things are done differently than they are here. It is not our place to judge that, and it's
Yeah,
not our place to change that.
mm,
exactly. Yeah, you just
And
go and see.
mm.
you just go and see and just take it
Yeah.
all in. And Varanasi, which is where, along the Ganges, where they have the ghats, right? The burning ghats, with all of the pyres burning 24/7.
Wow.
I thought it was interesting that my children, when we took them there last year, the first thing that they said when we were planning another trip, they wanted to go back to Varanasi this time, and they wanted to just sit on the ghats and spend their own time. They really didn't want any type of formal touring. They wanted to walk, and they wanted to watch and see.
Wow.
And what
which
was
is the best way to
Oh,
see
I,
it.
I I agree. And I mean, what was the experience like to being, what was it, what did it feel like?
There's something mystical about it. There's, clearly, it's hard for me to even say, as you're standing with the billowing smoke and the ash in the air, and you see the families and you see the bodies arriving. The bodies arrive wrapped in gold, and they unwrap them and they put them on the pyres, and there's certain members of the families that are there that are allowed right up, and then there's others, and watching the ritual. There's something very fulfilling about it, and it's a life cycle. Clearly there's a start and an end to life, and they seem to be very much at peace with the end of life, because to them it's not really the end of life. It's the beginning of something new. So there's something very peaceful about it, and organized. Even in the chaos of Varanasi, the whole ritual of the funeral pyres seems very well organized.
I want to go. That's all. I'm just like, okay, I just want to go. I want to go. We could do the Love Your Parks tour in India. Why not? You've got parks and all these stories too. What you experienced a Bollywood style party. This
cool.
was your New Year's Eve. This sounds like you had like an epic New Year's Eve that can't be topped.
We did. I mean, we started with our camel ride in the Thar Desert, and then we went back to our ultra luxury Suryagar hotel that had a New Year's party that like I've never seen before, with dancing and music and the food, and it went all through the night. It was beautiful in the gardens of the Suryagar hotel. And it is mandatory when you go to India and you're staying at one of the hotels over New Year's. It's mandatory that you pay for the New Year's dinner and celebrations. So that was part of our selection of that hotel, why we wanted to stay there.
Oh, how interesting that it's like a mandatory thing, but it's outside in the gardens, and that to me,
That sounds good.
I mean, there's nothing like a party in the garden,
That's right.
There's just,
Now it just so happened that it was freezing cold, so we got dressed in the best clothes that we had, which was pretty basic, but it wasn't warm enough, so we immediately went back to our rooms and got changed. So everybody at the party started in nice clothes, and by the end of the evening everybody was in puffy jackets and hats and mittens. So it was quite humorous because it's completely unexpected.
that's part of travel. I mean, I give up on style. Like I just like here,
Yes.
and to me it's the experience, not the the fashion. I think the most stylish thing we have is our Portofino wine bags. I mean, there's things you take, like here's the just in case things, and then you start to realize that you have too many just in case things, and it's just not worth it.
No.
It's just be practical.
And when you're in other countries, what you think is good style usually isn't.
That's right. That's right. And I mean, I found it humorous that as we were going through one of the forts in Jaisalmer, we were on the hunt for heavy socks and for mittens and for gloves. Who would ever think we'd be looking for that there?
Well,
we needed it.
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't know about the weather can, flip and change. I know you said it was like colder than it's ever been in 120 years there.
That's right.
So it's like you don't know. And sometimes it's just best to get your clothes on the other side. And, you know, I remember in South Africa on our tour there, Nancy, remember we ended up in Durban going to the Indian market. They have this giant Indian market, one of the most exotic,
That was so much
cool
fun.
places ever. And we got a lot of our clothes there because they were breathable and just easy. Indian clothing is some of the best clothing to travel with. It's thin. You can wash it in the sink, you know, in your hotel room, and you don't have all of these. You don't even have to iron half of it. It's pretty cool.
That's right.
Until it's
and you
winter.
learn to bargain. That to me, that was a big lesson for me, because just as in my makeup to bargain. Yeah, I was always taught that it was degrading to the people if you try to bargain a price with them when you're in other countries. And then I'd go out on my own and find out, no, they think you're really dumb if you don't bargain.
Yeah, I think so. I think they give you a price that they expect that you're going to come back. I actually have a funny story about clothes. On one of our trips, my husband took shirts, and he likes to pack them on hangers. And he took all the clothes out in Delhi when we arrived on his hangers and put them in the cupboard. And when we left and flew to our next city, he went to unpack and he realized he didn't bring his clothes. So we spent the next 2.5 weeks traveling without his clothes, and he bought things all the way. And when we left in Delhi at the end, we picked up his clothes. So he required very, very little and was able to buy everything there.
See, exactly. It's
well, you remember my hand lotion? When we were in Kenya, I left a bottle of hand lotion, and it followed me all through Kenya. On the other hand, I also put my camera in a dresser drawer, which I'll never do again. I forgot the camera. Of course, the camera never followed me anywhere, but the lotion did.
Yeah, I never put things in the drawers in hotels.
Nope.
You forget them. There's like a
no.
And I always like, you know, because we do this full time. Like I have my camera bag and wallet and keys and anything essential right next to my bed, so that if anything goes down, it's one grab and go. You know, now we have computers, which is a little, you know, now that's your second thing. But you have it where it's easy to grab and go. We've been in fires in hotels and stuff like that, and you know, that's what you're making me laugh about your New Year's Eve. Everybody all dressed up and bundled up. We were in a fire in South Africa, in a hotel, and it was funny because I woke up, heard them banging on the door. It was in Cape Town, and you know, we were on the tour at that point, and it was really cold. So I was wearing my pajamas and an extra pair of pajamas Nancy had on top of that. Right. And this sounds terrible, but I spilled ketchup on the pajamas. So it looked like I was bleeding. But anyway, I know. So it was funny because I was like, you know, I was like a teenager at this point. Nancy, I roll over. I tell Nancy, we got to get up and go. There's a fire. And I roll back to sleep. And then next year she's getting me up. So what do? I did not we ordered room service. That's why, which was kind of a rare thing for us to do. And I didn't put the wallet away, which is, we always put everything away in case something weird happens. And of course, we left my wallet upstairs, and we go down through the smoke, and the fire was right outside our window from the kitchen area, because the restaurant was kind of underneath where our room was. We go down, and everybody's dressed in their robes, and they went to the bar in the hotel, and people start drinking. And there were still people that were drinking from that night. And everybody just starts and goes to the bar and starts having cocktails, yet there's a fire. The firemen are coming through. There's water everywhere going, what the hell is wrong with you people?
What does it take?
But we get out, and they put us in another hotel down the street. We have no underwear on. Like, you know, we are in our jammies. And so the next morning, we're running up and down the streets of Cape Town trying to get stores to open up, because she had her art exhibit that morning. You know, there's press releases out. We couldn't get our clothes. We finally get clothes, go to the press thing, come back, and we go to the hotel, and I look out the window. There they are. These people have ransacked the hotel, and they've got my bags of clothes, going through my clothes, and they had my wallet. So, you know, those are those lessons of, you never know.
Yeah. Well, those are lessons. Those sound like pretty hard lessons.
Don't sleep naked.
Don't sleep. Exactly. Well, that's one. But the other thing that I learned from a lot of traveling is if you do use the safe, don't leave your things in the safe overnight if you're leaving in the morning.
Exactly.
Empty your safe the night before.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, now that she said that, follow her travels so you can rob Judy the night before she goes somewhere else. I'm just kidding, but but it's true. You will leave stuff there, and it's so hard sometimes to go backwards, and
That's
get
right.
what you've left before because
Yeah,
things
it's
happen.
true.
Ransacking of
Yeah.
hotels after a disaster, it happens.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Oh well, I got new clothes. It was, and luckily we don't travel with, we really do travel light. And once you travel light, you'll never go back because it just
That's right.
makes life so much easier. Wow,
I'm still learning about traveling light.
after 90 countries?
I know. I do my best, but I seem to think I have to take certain things, and I know that I don't, and I come back and half the things in my suitcase I haven't touched. So I'm still in the learning process there, even after 90 countries.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot of countries. And I was going to say, now you're out there travel writing, you've got published articles in different places, and everyone can follow you at travelingjudi.com. That's Judi again. Also, she's on Instagram and Twitter and all the great social media sites. So follow Judy's adventures there. But you're also a new member of the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association. Do you find that helps with getting published and doing, the business of travel writing?
Well, I love being a part of IF. I mean, I wanted to join because I wanted to be a part of a community of accomplished writers. And I love the concept of networking with people. I have traveled to see some of them. I was just with Linda and a few of the other IFTWA members in LA. And
Oh, wonderful.
I get a lot of energy from people who are as passionate about traveling and about writing as I am.
Yeah, and Linda
being
Kassam, that's the diva. She's the president of what we say IFTWA. Now she's a small cruise fan as well.
Yes, and she really is a diva, and I love her energy. I love her energy.
We love
I don't
Linda
know how
too.
to explain it.
She's
And I
awesome.
volunteered to help her arrange for media trips. So I've worked with her lately. I believe that if you become involved with an organization, you've got to roll up your sleeves to
Yes.
really understand what the power of the organization is about. So I'm very much enjoying it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Good.
And you're right about that. When there's no point in doing anything unless you get in. Get in. You don't just don't do things, halfway. Just get in there and do it. And that's how you connect with people too, is getting
right.
involved, and it just opens up doors and wonderful. And we get to meet you, so that's awesome. I hopefully we'll meet you in person at some point.
I hope so.
In our travels. And I love your story. Again, everybody, it's up on blendradioandtv.com. You also see in the spring issue of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine that covers April, May, around that time frame. So check that out. And of course, you can follow our journeys as well at nationalparktraveling.com. Keep up with us here at bigblendradio.com. Our shows air Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sundays, except for holidays. And of course, if you're a travel writer, photojournalist, an author, a destination as well, please go check out the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association. It is IFWTWA.org. They also have their annual conference coming up in Fort Lauderdale, I believe, in Florida at the end of the year in November. So you want to check that out. Did you get to any of their conferences yet, Judi?
I have not, unfortunately. The scheduling just did not work, but I'm hoping to be down in Florida for the next one.
Yeah,
cool.
It's a good time of year to be in Florida for sure. Nice and warm, and it's a good time if you're there. I encourage everyone after the conference to go a little south to the Everglades National Park, because it's one of those places you can see crocodiles and alligators and manatees all in the same place. It's like crazy cool. I love Florida. Florida's awesome. Well, we always love to play music for our guests, and of course you, our audience, and we like to pair up music as best as we can. And recently, our Dave Kersner is on our show recently with his new album, Breakdown, a compilation 1995 to 2019. And one of my favorite songs, which is, it's like an earworm, it's not going away. You know, when the song just keeps playing all day long, you can't escape it. I wanted to play this because it's got just a sprinkling of India. It has a George Harrison vibe to it, and it's called "Hello, My Old Friend." And I feel, reading your article and knowing your love and passion for India, it seems like India is your old friend, Judi. So I wanted to play this song for you. Right.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Here it is, everyone. Hello, my old friend. Thanks so much for joining us.
so long. My